Hi. So this is on imagination with a healing garden. Step into my world with me and I will show you what I see. So I just finished my rounds. I do my Sunshine Imagination Adventure rounds every day. And I started on YouTube and then I go the full loop. And I'm building the Radical Global Healing Plan right now. So that's awesome. This is the end of my day and I have clarity. So I'm sitting with clarity while I process everything and I think. And today I had a meeting with somebody that just opened my mind. Yesterday was if I'm going to go where I'm going to go, I got to break my mind and rebuild it. So I broke my mind and I rebuilt it. But I broke my mind yesterday and I went to bed going, okay, so I have a wide open space. I really need to teach this skill. So a lot of people are like, oh, you need a new mindset. And then why do people complicate things? I know why. It was rhetorical. When you don't know something, it tends to get overcomplicated. When you know it, it's simple. That's it. That's it right there. That's it right there. It's all right there. Food. That's it. When you don't know, you complicate it. When you do know, it's simple. You don't learn to unlearn. Why would you do that when you can just break your entire mindset and just build a new one? Or you just fix a single if-then clause and the whole thing just falls into place. It's so simple. So you know you've got good education when it's simple. That's like the first clue that you've got good shit is when it tells you how it's simple. So I know how to break my entire mindset in about an hour and just build a new one in like 20 minutes. So that's what I do. But I don't have to do it very often. It's this mindset is going to get me through this stage. You want to retire your mindset. That way you level up to the next level. But you don't know to do this if you don't know how to get over stigma and break through tears. It's not hard. You just got to know the right order of operations to do it. So I was thinking about it today because that's what I did yesterday. I broke my mindset. So here's how you break a mindset. You have logical if-then clauses that are the core foundation of a mindset. And when you find one of those, I can teach you how to do that. When you find a core piece to a mindset, you just change it. And when you change it, you just do the opposite. You just remove it. And the whole fucking logical code will it's literally like cleaning out house. You throw everything away. And then you're like, okay, well, now what do I do? And it's not that catastrophic if you have a solid foundation. It's called an existential crisis, which isn't really a crisis if you have a strong self foundation. So you really should have a strong self foundation before you do this. So I basically found that the mindset I had was maxed out. I could not proceed further or grow further with my current mindset. So I had to throw it out. So I found the key pin, pulled it, the whole thing toppled down. I threw it out. I did my whole crying and, all right, this is who I am. This is what I am. And this is what we're doing here. And this is why I don't want to do it. And I got all that out of my system. That was me purging my old mindset. And that was me confronting and accepting what I had to do. That's what it was. And then I went to bed last night going, well, I have no idea what tomorrow will bring, but doors are all open. I'm ready to receive. So I got into work this morning. God, listen to me. I got into work this morning. I sound like a muggle. So I get into work this morning and I cackle. I'm going to have to cackle more often. I like it. So I get into work this morning and I'm like, all right, today's day one of the Radical Global Healing Plan. So I throw it all out there. And I'm like, I'm going to start with YouTube. Well, first it started with me getting out my course and I started to build the course. And then I had a meeting at 9. So I'm like, all right, I need to make sure I watch the clock. So I went into the meeting and there was this dude and his mind was the most beautiful mind I have ever had the luxury of walking into. And it was like, I put him through I evaluated him for ethics and he passed flying colors. And I evaluated him for truth and logic, flying colors. Proof of concept, he was wealthy in every sense of the word. And I went, all right, you have permission to enter my mind. Actually, it was the other way. I allowed myself to enter his mind. So he regaled me with story, lesson, learning, and tale. And I just stepped into his mind, knowing my mind was blank, going, let's sponge all this stuff up. So I sponged it all up. And as he's talking, I must have had like 30 epiphanies. And it was literally aligned so with my agenda, like my destination, that I'm like, oh, that I realized he has the mindset that I've been trying to find and get to. And he provided me with the stepping stones to get there. And then I could reverse engineer him. I already did that. Like I reverse engineered it and I went, oh, holy fucking shit. I know. Now I can translate it. Now I can just give it to the rest of the world. So he had the most goodness in his heart to ask me about my business and what I was struggling with. And I usually don't tell people this because I'm just like, good luck helping me. And so far, it's been proven to be true. But he asked, and I thought he could see things I can't see. I'm going to give it to him. So I told him where I'm at, and he was able to immediately reverse engineer what I had, problem solve it, and said, you need fame. I said, yes, I do. He goes, you need fame. He goes, where you're going, what you're doing. He goes, the only way you're going to get there is with fame. I know. That's why I'm an internet personality. And I was telling him about the work that I was doing, my theater, everything. And it was it was validating. It was just reaffirmation of everything that I had. And I explained it to him. I said, I have a box of cherries that I have in the back that I'm just waiting to bring out. And I just did a whole mind flush yesterday. And I'm in the process of building to get to the next stage. And I'm like, you just pulled the box out of the back and just built it with all the stuff I have out back. And I'm like, I don't have to do anything. I mean, I have to do stuff. I got to be here and go hi. But he built it literally step by step. And I just went, holy fucking shit, dude. And the couple things that I had that I was uncertain of, he cleared right up for me. I was so focused on money that it was absolutely a red herring. And I went, I understand now. Money is the consequence. And I just, oh my God, it's people. It's people. Of course it's people. It's always been people. But to what degree, to what purpose, to what everything was just this massive, oh, I see. And that's when I realized that a person is standing on their little run on their giant ladder, and they're reaching their hand down to you. And you're holding your hand out to them, and you just can't reach, no matter how high you reach. Sometimes people just quit, and they're like, we can't reach. A resource is the cloth in your hand to throw it up so they can catch it, so they can pull you up. That's money. That's money. And there are people who have mastered the art of doing nothing but that. They're the ones who figured out the algorithm and went, we're all on a giant ladder step. And you've got your resources, but you need somebody on the tier above you to pull you up, but you can't reach. Your resources is the cloth in your hand, the rope in your hand, the grappling hook to throw up, to have them catch you so you can get pulled back up to the next level. Now, if you don't trust your climbing partner, or if you're with the wrong climbing partner, they're going to cut your rope on you instead of pulling you up. So the first thing you got to do is get yourself a team to make sure you are climbing on top of each other and helping each other up. And then it's finding the right influencers who are ethical. So you want ethical influencers. And you want to use the resources to climb and pull and push each other up. And if you hoard the money, you're not going to go anywhere. Now, you might figure out a way to rob from people, take from them, cut their rope, leave them for dead. But that's going to accrue your karma bank and it will come back. And that will immediately take you down the path of consumption. It's like the longer you go that route, the more diseased you're going to get until you're a miser with disease that just. And I'm down here going, how the fuck do you climb these stairs? And I knew there were people involved. So I have all my people. I got my gorgeous people. I'm going, all right, now how do we do this? And I did it on accident, by accident, in 2015. And now I see what I did. I finally was able to reverse engineer my success from 2015. Finally. And it's this process of using the resources as tools, not the people. You have to use the resources as tools to pull each other up so that both of you will make it and both of your resources will overflow. And right after I got this knowledge, right after I saw it, I was talking to another friend, relaying this information back. And I'm like, my brain is knowledge soup, where I just take information and it just goes into my brain and it stirs up. And then I can see this new product, this new thing. And one of the things that I can feel it just flowing out of me right now. And I'm just like, here, give it to you. And I'm sitting here looking down this chain reaction. I have been staring down this chain reaction all my life. And it's me standing at the point of words. Now, every one of us is on this spectrum. Every one of us is on this spectrum somewhere. And I am at the point of words with my back. Okay, I'm standing next to imagination. It's why my name is Imagination. Is because I'm standing at imagination, looking at words, looking at logic, looking at physics, and then looking on from there. And I've been standing there looking at this my whole life going, where the fuck is inspiration? I have no idea what it is. And I would stare at this thing, at this long tunnel of just, all right, I can see how I can move stuff. But where's inspiration? And I finally turned around. And for the first time in my life, I turned my back to logic and physics, which I've never in my life done before, ever. And I did that. And when I did that, I looked at imagination and then I looked at feelings. And I went, and I'm still standing at the point of words. And I went, oh, I can just use words to draw out. That's inspiration. So that's my question to you. Where are you standing? And what side are you facing? That's it right there. Are you standing at the feelings and you have your back to imagination and you're just staring down into feelings? Oh, a lot of people are doing that. Are you standing at feelings and you're looking at imagination and then on to words and then on to logic? Or are you standing at logic and you're just looking straight down at physics? Are you standing at chemistry with your back to logic and just looking on to astronomy? Are you standing at astronomy and you're looking down all the way? Which side are you looking at? It took me 44 years to turn my back on logic and physics to finally look at imagination and feelings and go, look at that. I can use my words in either direction. I had no fucking idea. So suddenly there was inspiration. And now I'm going, oh, I know how to use my words to draw out because I know how to use words. I just needed to turn around. I know how to use words to form logic, story, physics. I know how to do words for all that. So then I turned around and I went, oh, I can use words to do imagination. Well, I know that, but I didn't know that. I used words to create story. But I didn't realize I could use words to inspire. I had no idea. When I watched Tony Robbins, he yells a lot. And I love him. But I can only handle so much because he's very loud. It's one of the things that I don't like about him is I'm like, all right, I can only handle so much because he screams. And it was actually one of the things that I consciously said, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that at all. And it's great for him and his people love him. But now I understand it. He's using physics to force people through the passion. I would call that passion. Like he knew. And here's the thing. I watched Hitler do the same thing. Absolutely no ethical relation, of course. But I did see Hitler use the same strategy. And I also watched evangelists do the same thing. I watch politicians do the same thing. And it's because they don't know how to inspire. Now, when I get on one of my soapboxes, don't talk to me about the Hoover Dam, because then I will be off. But I'm thinking about that, and I'm like, interesting. And I can't help but think everything that our problem is just language. It's just language. And the more I study this, the more I'm going, the only problem we have is we're all trained to use liar language. That's it. We're all walking around speaking liar language. And I'm going to be talking a lot about liar language. Now, I've been training myself to not use liar language with linguistics and logic. And the more I use this language, the more I'm attracting the right people. And I'm going, wow, this is actually how I broke the stigma, is I stopped using the language. You know, Professor Higgins said it. It's her improper English that keeps her in her place, not her ragged clothes and dirty face. Why can't the English learn to speak? This verbal class distinction by now should be extinct. If you spoke as she does, sir, instead of the way you do, why, you just might be selling flowers too. That was the very first lesson I learned in linguistics, was why can't the English learn to speak? And then he said to Pickering, seriously, watch My Fair Lady if you haven't. He said to Pickering, I bet you in 6 weeks, I could have her dressed up, speaking the Queen's English and selling with her own, and having the prestige to literally sell flowers in a proper shop instead of on the streets like a squashed cabbage leaf. And sure enough, that's exactly what he did. And I studied the language that he taught her. I watched his lessons and I studied his linguistics. Professor Higgins taught me English. And I just went. And I watched the way people treated me change. And then I forgot that lesson because of my mental illness. And that's when things really got bad. But it wasn't just how you say it, it's what you say, which is why they did her in. And it's not a vernacular. It's not the word choice. It's the conversation. It's the topic. And then they skipped that part because, they had 3 hours of movie time. So they skipped that part. And suddenly her language is breathtaking and she's at the Queen's ball. And I've been sitting here looking at that going, what did they change? What did they change? Because that grouping of language, the whole lesson, that part was skipped. She's sitting there at the Ascot Gavotte, and then she's at the ball. And I'm like, wait, what were the lessons? And it took me over 30 years to hunt down those lessons. Well, I found them. Now I know what they were teaching her in that time period. So now I know what they did. Now I reverse engineered it and I understand now. Good God, do I understand it? They taught her how to not speak like a pauper. They taught her what was inappropriate to talk about. They taught her the mindset. So you're all chasing mindsets. You're wasting time. You're doing it the hard way. You're doing it the fucking hard way. Stop chasing mindsets and change your language. Don't complain. Because every time you complain, you sound like a victim. Stop whining. Because every time you whine, you sound like a narcissist. Stop talking about who did what to you. Because every time you do, you sound like you're mentally ill. But the thing is, not only do you sound that way to the people around you, you reaffirm the lesson in your subconscious mind to say, okay, that's what we're doing then. Complainer, that's what you are. Okay, whiner, that's what you are. That's what we got to do. So now your subconscious mind is picking up that lesson and running with it. Every time you gossip, you sound like a second perspective nag from a church. Stop gossiping. Every time you talk about inappropriate context, you sound like a poor person. This is the difference between class. If you talk like you have no class, you're going to attract people who have no class. If you talk like you're a victim, you're going to attract abusers because abusers are victims. Victims are abusers. They use the same language. They're just at different stages. All abusers are victims, and all victims are abusers. They are synonymous. And it's all the same language. The victims who get out of the mindset change their language. You really need to become a linguist. If psychologists had half a brain, they'd figure that out. If psychologists had a fraction of a brain, they'd go, oh, gee, I should probably be a linguist instead and just teach people language and logic. So yeah, linguistics and logic. Because when you start understanding the words out of your mouth and what they're doing to you, what the psychology of linguistics does to you, oh, now we're changing the game. Now we're changing the narrative. That's really what we're doing here. Suddenly, you become aware that the language you are using nourishes, cultivates, poisons, contaminates. And it's all language. That's kind of what happens when you're a storybook. When you are a sentient story, suddenly the words really fucking matter. Because every word out of your mouth writes your story. I have a habit of listening to every one of my videos every time I'm done recording it. I'll get done with the recording and then I'll play it back. Every one of them. And the reason why is because I want to listen to my narrative. I want to know what I sound like to people. I want to know what I sound like. And every time I'm going, ooh, I'm complaining too much. Ooh, I'm too hard there. Ooh, and I tweak it and I modify it and I change it, which is why if you watch my videos, they start off and I'm a real bitch. And then sure enough, they tailor down into this. And I'm going, all right, there we go. This is better. This is better. And I'm still doing it. I'm still analyzing and I'm still critiquing it, going, okay, every fucking one of my videos, I re-listen to it just for the narrative. Am I sounding like somebody who I want to be? So when I spoke to this person, I listened to the words he used. I listened to the language in his mouth, and I took it out, and I made it my own. I noticed he used words like influencer. He used words like buying my friends, buying friends. And I thought, he's ethical. He literally hit all 12 ethics. And he was a good man. And I'm going, and the fact that he was very wealthy and abundant, I'm going, yeah, wealth, abundance, ethics. And he said, I buy my friends. And now I'm going, what is a friend? Now I'm going to be the first to tell you I don't have a fucking clue. I've been trying to figure out friendship all my life. So I am not one to know what a friend is. And I'm listening to this very successful, wealthy person tell me what he thinks friendships are. And I'm going, maybe a friend is just the person who helps you climb up the steps. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's so simple. Maybe a friend is just somebody who helps you climb up the steps. And they might help you one time. But here's the thing, is it's a win-win-win. Every time. You win, they win, their patrons win. Everybody wins. But a friend is not someone who helps you up the steps. Or they help you up the step, but at your loss. That's really important. Do you have friends who help you up the steps, but at your loss? Is that really helping you up the steps? Or is that robbing you? You know, that's really it, isn't it? They rob you and then they kick you back down and they take your resources. So now you're stuck all the way down at the bottom of the steps without any ability to climb. So you think. Is this all that really is? That's so simple, which tells me it's right. Is a friend just someone who helps you up the steps? But then there are people who hold you down, who don't want you to climb. In fact, when they find out you're climbing, they will break your legs. Wow, suddenly everything is very clear now, isn't it? A friend is somebody who helps you up the steps for a win-win-win. An enemy is somebody who robs you or prevents you from climbing up those steps. And we're all just climbing up giant steps. I have people right now who are holding me up, pushing me up, and I'm turning right back around and I'm grabbing their hands and I'm pulling them up with me. And I'm telling them, whatever my resources are, you have them. You have all of my resources. I extend it to you. You have my resources. Do whatever you need with my resources to get yourself up that step. Yeah, and I do mean that. And suddenly it's this realization that I can now so clearly look at my family. They either held me down, broke my legs, robbed me, literally and metaphorically. Whatever they could do to keep me right down low on their step. And then I had people who feigned at pulling me up to another step, but then they broke me, crippled me, put me down, robbed me, threw me down, and then ran off with my stuff. Had lots of people like that. And suddenly I see this massive, well, that's economy now, isn't it? It's just a chain of resource clatter exchange. Climbing ladder, clatter. And that's just it. Do you have friends, people in your lives where you're giving more resources than you're ever getting? Do you have people in your life who are doing that to you, where you just keep giving and giving and giving and you're not getting anything back? Do not have friends with those people. And then there's people who claim to be friend. And I'm just going back in circles again because it's the same thing over. No, I'm running through this logic. This is it. When the logic checks out over and over again and you find yourself in the logic loop because it all keeps checking out, and no matter which way you word this, it's the same thing, you know you found truth. When? A friend is somebody who uses the resources to help you up to the next step for a win-win-win. Doesn't matter if you've known them for a day It doesn't matter if you've known them for 10 days, 10 years, 30 years, 60 years. They are the ones who lift you up. And if you're somewhere and you haven't grown and you're not going anywhere, they're not your friend. They're not your friend. I understand now. I have to go talk to someone. Thank you. And may the kindest of words always find you.